What's up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. This podcast brings in guests from all over with all different backgrounds, all different journeys, here to share their story and make an impact. As they share their story, we take little side quests along the way, talk about a multitude of different things, and share that with you. So, sure to create a lot of value. If that's something for you, then check us out, subscribe, share, review it, all the things. If that's not for you, still subscribe, share, all those things as well. And
just don't report us.
Just don't report us.
Do whatever you want, just don't report us.
Yes. But as always, we have my man Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 in the house doing his thing over there.
Top of the morning.
And today we have a guest who made the trek all the way from Jacksonville, North Carolina yesterday. And he turns around and heads back tomorrow. So 11-hour drive here just to be on this podcast. My man, Alex Caamano.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate the travel.
Yeah, man. Really do appreciate it, man. Real quick. So, Alex, how you doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great? Made the trek with your wife and 3 kids, you said?
Yeah, that was a hectic.
You brought them all?
Man. Yeah, I got to, man. I can never go anywhere without them.
There you go. I like
They'll
it.
be bugging me the whole entire way. I can have an enjoyable trip without getting calls and texts. I'm like, just go.
Yeah.
Right. Hell yeah, man. Hey, dude. But I mean, that time with your family is valuable regardless of where you're at. You're still with them, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Alex, real quick. So we got connected a while back. I mean, you've been talking about coming on the podcast for quite some time now. And of course, our boy Dylan Lee Gentry introduced us. He's like,
I think 5 or 6 at this point.
yeah. I mean, well, it's funny. Dylan came in for a little meeting yesterday because he wants to like be a part of the team and whatnot. And he's like, anything you need, bro. Like, it really upset him that I was like deplatformed from IG. Anything you need, I'm like a dog. Just give me the bone. I'll make sure it happens, you know? And I'm like, hell yeah, Dylan. I love how fired up he
Dylan's
gets.
a savage. Yeah. I love Dylan.
Dude, such a consistent guy too. And yeah, so he's going to be out there as like our active, podcast recruiter. So I was like, dude, just give me guests. I trust you now.
I know I've said this a million times, but it's just so weird how things work out. Like just randomly finding Dylan on Instagram one day. I just messaged him. I was like, dude, you're killing it. And then randomly I was like, you ever think about coming on the podcast? Fuck yeah, dude. Comes on the podcast. He introduces us to Alex Blue, who introduces us to Gage. And then
Lee, and then like, AJ, and you.
Like so many people.
It's been awesome, man.
He's a very selfless individual.
I agree.
Which is a great thing great quality to have.
Yeah, exactly, man. And he's someone I can, like, I'm like, yeah, I trust this guy to, like, get shit done and, be a part of this. So, but that being said, yeah, that's how we got connected. I checked out your content a little bit, man. You got some good stuff. Very strong mindset, military background, which we'll get into all this stuff. But real quick introduction, and tell us what you do now, in your life, and then we'll take it back.
Got it. So my name is Alex. I am the founder of Diesel Fit, Diesel Fitness, which is more of a mindset and personal development program with a fitness program attached to it. I don't try to emphasize much of the fitness because I like to address more of the internal stuff, and that's what ultimately helped me to get to the point where I am right now, which I don't contribute to vices. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party, I don't entertain, negative people. I'm just mainly purpose driven. So my mission, because I am alive due to that program, is to serve as many people as possible, overcome the internal flaws, and become a better version of themselves.
Nice, man. I love that. And I can connect with that big time. I mean, this is mostly started as like a fitness mindset thing, just because fitness has been such an important part of my life and like what this is all about. More so mindset. But, fitness is pretty basic at the end of the day. There's only so much you can touch on. You can help people improve, but they just get better at that naturally. It almost comes automatic at some point. But with the mindset thing, you constantly grow, and that's the important thing to hit on. So, and I wanted, I'm writing this down because you said vices, and I think that's something we can hit on too. Because I'm wondering if you did have an issue with vices back in the day. I know my vice is dip. I love me some Copenhagen, baby. But, one day I'll get past that. But anyways, good deal, man. Well, take us back, dude. Take us back to young adolescent days when you're just a young buck. Where you're from, a little bit about your childhood, and then we'll just like head to where we're at now.
Yeah. So I was born in Dominican Republic. I left Dominican Republic when I was very, very young. My dad, he was a lawyer. He was a phenomenal athlete. I just found out recently, it's kind of crazy, that he was about to get drafted by the New York Yankees and Minnesota Twins playing baseball. So I always watched him do all that stuff. And as a young age, I've always been passionate about sport.
Yeah.
Sports have been raised by.
When did you move from DR?
I left. Oh man, I mean, when I was very little, and then I moved to the Bronx, back to Dominican Republic. But I left Dominican Republic, I'd say 96 or so.
Yeah.
My dad had developed a brain tumor. Eventually just kept deteriorating. So long story short, he became more of a child over time. So I didn't have that male figure to teach me how to become a man. You know, my mother had to play the role.
So he was a big inspiration early on, but then he, you know, unfortunate circumstances forced that.
How old were you when that happened?
I think he got sick when I was starting to develop a sickness at 6, 7 years old.
Gotcha.
Damn, that's a hard time to have to, you know,
sure.
that's unfortunate for anyone at any time, but like, you know, to have to experience your father going through that time's got to be rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my best friends, is from the Dominican Republic. You're like the only person I've ever met that's also from there. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
He moved here when he was 18.
Baseball over there was like religion, man.
Oh, yeah.
So he was very influential in that aspect and watching him play the games. But yeah, so I developed the passion for the sport. Eventually we moved to the United States and I was playing baseball over there through middle school and high school. And yeah, he eventually got sick and wasn't able to influence me to be a man, so to speak. I don't blame him for anything. Obviously, you know, life was a bitch and play those cards, but it taught me a lot. I saw him, how he was as a husband, how he was as a father. I have some memories of him. And it's not like he passed away when I was a very young age. He passed away when I was like 25 years old. I'm 38 now.
Oh, really? So he got diagnosed with that when you were like 6 or 7? And
Yeah.
you didn't pass till you were 25?
Yeah, so watching him grow up, it wasn't like he became unable to have a conversation. It was just more like talking to a child, so to speak. Like he wasn't able to, he'll argue to you about anything. And it's just like, what's up, dude? Like, but we understand that he got sick. But
It's a really slow progression.
I admired the hell out of him, obviously, because I saw how he treated my mother. I saw his effort. Despite what he was doing or what was wrong with him, he just kept putting an effort towards providing or, you know, just being the man of the house. And my mother also I credit a lot to because she had to play the role of mother, father, husband, and wife, only one person, you know, as a single person. And you know, while that was happening, I grew up a lot in the street, what I saw in the street. I never was really involved in gangs, but
In the Bronx, right?
this is in Jersey, actually.
Okay.
So we moved from the Bronx to Dominican Republic, and then after that, we went back to we moved to New Jersey.
All right.
So what's like the timeline on your age during this time? Like
This was probably like 10 years old. 10 around
when you
10
when you
years.
moved to the United States, like permanently?
Yeah, when we moved permanently.
Gotcha.
And from there, when, like I said, I was playing baseball. My mother, she used to work at a grocery store. My dad used to deliver for that grocery store. So I worked with them as well. But most of the time, she was always at work. My dad was at home, and I was out in the street hanging out with the lowlifes. You know what I mean? Or growing up with that environment.
So it's pretty tough circumstances then.
Yeah, I mean, but even though I was involved in sports, man, you kind of get an influence of certain people in that environment. I don't know if you're familiar with New Jersey, but I'd say this. Anywhere, if you could see New York City from where you're at in Jersey, you're probably not in the best area.
Yeah, I've been to Camden. I had some cousins that lived there. It's pretty rough.
That's a war zone, bro.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. This was years ago, but I was like, man, this is sketchy.
You said
I'm like,
if you
why am
can
I here?
see this, if you could see New York City from where you are in Jersey, then it's probably not a good area.
It's probably not a good area, especially if you're that close, depending. So I lived in Weehawken, New Jersey. I lived in, you ever seen The Sopranos?
I haven't, honestly.
My dad loves The Sopranos. My dad's from Somerville, New Jersey.
Have you seen The Sopranos, though?
I haven't in a long time, but
So-
yeah.
When at the beginning of the show, they come out of this tunnel, and that's right above that is a stadium. So it's called Weehawken Stadium. So I grew up just like 5 minutes from there. And I used to skateboard a lot. I used to ride bikes. I used to do a lot of stuff that unfortunately a lot of kids can't do nowadays because they're worried about getting snatched.
Damn.
But used to skateboard, play baseball, and just be in an environment where there was a lot of gangs, a lot of different stuff there. And I wasn't influential at that point in my life, but as we progressed, as we moved out, and eventually it became a thing, hanging around with gangbangers and all that stuff. I was never involved in it, but it was definitely an influence for me. 'Cause my father
By
couldn't-
association type thing?
Yeah.
Damn.
So it was a
So
experience.
moving from there, you're in middle school around this time frame, right? And then like high school. So what was that like as far as like that lifestyle and sports and all the things?
Yeah, just unpack that whole thing a little bit if you're well. That just
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to high school, and in high school I played baseball up until my junior year. Eventually started doing or experimenting, with drugs and hanging out with people that unfortunately, to this day, are still doing the same exact thing. So, graduated high school in 2004, went to a community college after that. I don't know how long, probably a couple of semesters. I saw myself doing horrible in school and doing a lot of drugs. And it just, I needed to make a decision to ultimately improve my life. So after that point, at 21 years old, I joined the Marine Corps. To actually go back a little bit, I moved away from that town to kind of get away from the environment, but you can't take the environment away from you, essentially. So I moved away.
When you went to community college,
I went to a community college after graduating high school. Wasn't doing so well. Fast forward like a year or two after that, I was going to, moved away to like a different town to see if I could kind of escape the environment. But then I started doing the same thing over there. Lived there for a couple months. Got kicked out of where I lived at because I was taking like, I guess, antidepressants or something. Got into an argument with the manager of the property where I was living at. She felt threatened, and I got kicked out. Ultimately was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I made a decision at that point. Like, look, I'm 21 years old. I haven't gotten a degree. I've been wasting time, been wasting money. I want to make my parents proud, especially coming from the Caribbean. I noticed their hard work. I want to do something for them. So I forced myself into the only option that I had, and it was joining the Marine Corps. So
I want to say it's interesting because I don't know if you've heard about like my story, that part of my life, but when I was 18, 19 years old, I went to college and I got hooked on drugs. I was fucking with pills and stuff like that. And, dude, same thing, man. I was like, bro, you're such a disappointment. Like I talk about this. I've told this story a lot of times, but like, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I looked like shit. I wasn't athletic anymore. I just looked like a bag of ass. And I was like, I hate you.
I'm a bag of ass.
And I talk about it like, but that form of self, that me hating myself then was one of the biggest forms of self-love I've ever shown myself, because I left that person right there and I went and joined the military as well. So I went there I went to a recruiter right after that, because I was like, I'm a disappointment, man. I'm fucking wasting money. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm fucking messing around with drugs all the time. And it's just going to get out of control unless I make a stance now. And like, same thing, man. I knew it was going to straighten me out quick, and that was the military, dude. So
that's kind of the thing, though. You took that time to reflect on yourself. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
They just kind of want somebody else to guide them, or looking for other people's validation, which we'll get a touch up on that later. Mm-hmm. But you made the decision. You analyze yourself and like, damn, I'm fucking up. I need to do something. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like where I was at. Like, I graduated high school, 18 years old, didn't do shit. Was, everything, every dollar that I earned, I used to work at a pizza place. It's just like, hey, let's go smoke a blunt. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Then I started doing the other stuff. And, I spent a bunch of money on that. And even though my conscience was speaking to me like, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing? I never listened to that. And I'm going to talk about conscience congruency later on. But I still wasn't quite ready. I think life guides you. You're guided by, I believe, a divine source, divine power. Call it God, call it whoever.
Yeah.
And you're constantly shown lessons. Sometimes we're too blind to see those lessons. Sometimes we actually capitalize on that. So it was a moment where you realize, like, I need to join the military. Same goes for me. That was the only option that I knew I had. Otherwise, I would have been dead, or would have been a drug addict, would have been in jail, like a lot of my older friends are.
Dude, same.
So,
and I could have gone to school somewhere else, but I probably would have been doing the same shit, because I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I knew what the path needed to be. And like you said, life does guide you. Fate, is like how I like to put it. Like, fate has a path for you. You can fight it, or you can kind of follow it and learn the lessons along the way, and create something powerful from it. But and people often think, oh, well, you may hear, oh, well, this person's special. They were able to get away from that, because so many people fall, victim to it being their life, the rest of their life. They end up dead or whatever. But it's like, you and I are proof that no, it just takes you making a choice. That's all you got to do. It's so simple, yet it's, what I've found is the simplest things, the simplest concepts tend to be the most difficult ones for people. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of crazy, but hey, mad respect to you for that, because I can connect with you there. So
before we get into the military too, we haven't had anybody that has the gang experience. So if you would, before we get into the military stuff, whenever you're talking about the community that you grew up in and not being a part of it, but being 1 degree away of separation kind of thing, can you kind of just describe what you mean by that? Like, just kind of elaborate on that, because like I said, it's of all the people that we talked about, I think you're the first person that's brought that up as an experience. So
I just think that as it's probably more of a male thing. We're more driven by camaraderie or being part of a brotherhood, so to speak. And I was in that environment that I was at growing up in New Jersey. I remember once I was playing baseball with some young kid, and all of a sudden, like 30 dudes come in from one side and 30 dudes come in from the other side. I'm like, damn, I'm about to get jumped. And I haven't done nothing. I must have been like 10, 11 years old. And this dude just went at it. I don't know if you remember back in the day, people walking around with the boom boxes.
Yeah.
So it was that time.
They just met up and squared off.
Dude, I see people stabbing each other. This dude got knocked the hell out with a boom box right next to me. But
with the boom box.
Oh, dude, it was nuts. But
So what were the gangs that were around there?
It was just crazy because in that street that I grew up on, it's called Palisade Avenue. You had Weehawken on one side and Union City on the other side. And it was just across in the street. Like it's kind of hard to describe, but if you cross the street, it's like you're in wrong gang territory. But it's not even a big street. It was like a small street. But they were beefing for whatever reason. You know, it didn't make no sense to me. But it is what it is. I don't change the environment.
So something in you was like, you know, you were attracted to it, so you hung around, but at the same time, you're like, but this isn't the right way. I was involved with like motorcycle clubs and stuff like that. And it was just, I was attracted to that brotherhood, like especially after the military, man, I was attracted to the brotherhood aspect. I mean, that gang mentality is common. I mean, tribalism is a thing. It started since the very beginning, you know, and I have my brothers in the Haree, and I have a crew that I get together with. But, you know, we're all doing righteous shit and we're setting goals. Like there's nothing ridiculous going on like that. So, yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. That's a pretty wild experience, man. Well, I'm glad you didn't get hit with a boombox.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that would have been.
How close would you say that you were to genuinely being a part of that life? Like, were some of your best friends in? Like,
yeah, so I had friends that grew up with, this is in Jersey. Then I moved upstate New York after 9/11. So I seen the towers go down and all that stuff. After that, we moved.
I'd love to ask you about that too. That's crazy.
It was even though it was a city, it was a quiet day. Like if that makes sense. Like all the noise from the city just kind of disappeared because you're in shock. I mean, I walked into like my English class and all of a sudden the teacher stood up and said, "Hey, look, the towers just got hit." So we went to the other side of the building. We saw everything unfold, but it just was a quiet day after seeing all that stuff. But in regards to your question, it was. I think it was close to doing it. You know, I think it was close to joining. It just something kept pulling me back because ultimately I have a lot of love for my mom and for my dad and their struggles, the things that they had to overcome that I didn't want to become that sort of disappointment. Although I experienced with drugs and they know it, something kept pulling me back. Fate, you know, God, whoever, guiding me from making further mistakes. So we left that environment. I moved upstate New York, this place called Ithaca, New York. It's 25 minutes south of Syracuse. Most people heard of Syracuse.
I've heard of Ithaca.
So that's where Cornell University is, a
Okay.
big Ivy League school. And then Ithaca College. And then there, it's kind of like, that place in New York is where a lot of inner city gang members leave to kind of either escape the life or just kind of stay in the low. So I linked up with several people there, and they had ties to this other gang called TRG. Tiny Rascal Gang, which is basically like I like to say the Asian version of like the MS-13.
That's what I was wondering about MS-13.
Yeah, so I was like the only Dominican, only Hispanic person with all these Asians. It became a beautiful thing though because I am so big on Asian food, bro. Like I'm more Asian than Hispanic. So they introduced me to the Cambodian food, the Thai food.
He said honestly, they almost got me in with that. Like I was hanging out with them, just the food, just that alone.
The food. I mean, it's a beautiful culture. A lot of these guys were former gang members and all had ties to it, and I just kind of like the brotherhood and kind of fell into it, you know, just want to be a part of it. I never got jumped in, never did any illegal stuff, and I never saw them do a lot of illegal stuff other than obviously the drug usage and stuff like that. But there was just something about that life that drew me in, but I knew that it wasn't my calling. Again, we're all guided by a divine source. So if it was meant to be, it would have happened, but it wasn't. Yeah. And then started experimenting with drugs, and then from there I joined the military.
Yeah, man. And so that's the next big thing. Tell us about your military experience.
And why the Marines too?
All right, so as far as why the military, it was the only option. It was the only option that I had. You know, I had graduated high school at 18 years old. Sports is no longer going to be a thing for me. I've wasted that opportunity. Even though my dad would have gotten drafted by Yankees and stuff like that, if I would have followed the same path, I think it was pretty decent.
As you were saying, that's when you started experimenting with drugs, was like junior year of high school, right?
Yeah, something would have happened for me eventually, whether it be a college, sponsorship or whatever. a ride to college to play sports, and then eventually professional. Had I stuck with it, I think I was pretty decent. But then I messed that up, hanging out with, the wrong people. And so I realized at 21 years old, I need to do something. And the military is the only option. So I joined the Marine Corps, and I did shop around. I went to every other branch. I'll tell you about that. The first guy was the Navy. The Navy just kept, every time you saw me in high school, just kept, calling me baby. And at that time, it pissed me off. And I was like, what's up, baby? Like how people talking. I'm like, at that time, I never really registered. I'm like, I don't know what this guy's doing in the fucking Navy. But that's not what I want. I don't want that. And I didn't know anything about the Navy.
That guy ruined it. He's like, could have had a great naval officer and this guy calling you babies.
Yeah, like, there's nothing wrong with the Navy. I mean, we give each other shit all the time on who has the biggest, like, in terms of branches, but it's all in good fun, though. But,
yeah.
So that was it for that. Then I went to the Air Force to kind of check those guys out. He saw a couple of my tattoos, and he's like, oh, you're gang-related, and we're not right for you. I'm like, okay, you're not right for me either, man. That interview lasted like 2 minutes. So then I was going to go to the Army. Coast Guard was never an option. I don't even consider the military, honestly. But so I was gonna go to the Army, and I was sold, man. Like I was ready to go. And this guy painted a picture like a Call of Duty, bro. You're gonna jump out of planes. You're gonna do all this different stuff. I'm like, bro, I've done my research, homie. So I was like, and there's nothing wrong about the Army. I was gonna go, and his lies never really killed it for me. What killed it for me is that I brought my mom into the recruiting station one time. He didn't have his blouse on. He was just cussing up a storm. So it wasn't professional. Ultimately, I knew I wanted to be a Marine. I just wanted to save those guys, to the end. So that's what killed it for me. Then I brought in a Marine recruiter to our home, and he was very professional. He was very, he had his dress blues on. I think his dress blues deltas. And he was very professional, very courteous. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All that stuff to my parents. And I was like, that's what I want. As far as my job, at that point, I think I had a lot of rebellion in me, a lot of anger. So as far as my MOS, I just want to kill people, man. So my recruiter was like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go off people, man. He's like, I'll put you in the infantry. On top of that, my AFAS score was pretty low.
So not many other options, buddy.
My ASVAB score, that's so funny.
My ASVAB score was low as hell. I didn't even know. He's like, you don't need a high ASVAB score to just be an infantryman. So
he's like, watch this. We'll teach you how to kick a door in and shoot a gun. Don't worry about it.
But it was the most humbling experience. Like it taught me a lot. Being in the infantry, it was definitely a fucking rough time, but I had a lot of fun. I've done a lot of cool stuff. So.
What was the not the recruitment process like in your house, but I guess like once you join the what is the word I'm looking for? Like basic training, like the selection process type thing.
I went to so you go to MEPS to get, you do all the paperwork. I was one of those guys that was ready to go, but at that time I wasn't clean. You know what I mean? So they kept waiting for me to flush all that shit out. And,
I had to do the same thing.
Did you really?
Yeah, because I had weed in my system. I was like, oh God, chugging water and shit. Yeah.
Oh man. So he's like, I cleaned all that stuff out, and then I went to a mall 45 minutes away from where I initially had the conversation with the Marine. And it just happened to be that the staff NCO, the head guy of that office, was in this particular mall. And the guy saw me. He's like, hey, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm shopping with my family. I'm like, damn, this fucking guy. I just so happened to run to this guy. And he's like, hey, Staff Sergeant so-and-so wants to see you real quick. Just do a random piss test, see where you're at. Like, it never really happened. Just want to see where you're at. I'm like, damn.
So then I go you when he saw you at the mall. He pulled you for a drug test.
I'm with my family, and a random sergeant comes up to me and says, hey, so-and-so wants to see you real quick. Just kind of see what the process is or where you're at, because I know that you've been working hard on getting clean or whatever and flushing that stuff out. And let's just do a random piss test. It never really happened. Just want to see where you're at. And then he comes over, and the next day or a couple of days after, he's like, dude, have you done anything else besides weed? I was like, nah. He's like, you pop for coke. I was like, fuck. Like,
that was weird.
That never happened. So I told him that, hey, I guess somebody must have laced some shit.
Is this like a process of days? Like you decided you wanted to join the military, you went to the branches.
Yeah, I wanted
to
go
really quick.
I wanted to get the hell out of that environment, but I still had to get rid of some stuff. But long story short, so I popped for that one, then eventually, did whatever I had to do to flush all that stuff out, and I was ready to go. So the reason why I got a low ASVAB score is because from Ithaca to the MEP station, I think it was in Syracuse, it was about 45 minutes or so away, and I hadn't really slept. I did a bunch of paperwork, did all this tests and stuff like that. Then I had to go to MAPS and wake up at 3 or whatever in the morning. So I barely even slept. I just checked all the marks and
You did the Christmas tree?
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, check, like whatever, you know. And I got a low ass score, but eventually, you know, they took me in, and he's like, "What do you want to do?" It's like, "I want to be in the infantry," and that's what I joined. That's what I did.
Nice, man. Hey, that's pretty wild, dude. I mean, it sounded like you made the right path. How did you take it? I guess coming from the environment you did, you know, going to basic.
Yeah,
And people like up your ass. Like, did you have to swallow your pride a little bit? Because I knew some guys that were from like, you know, rougher areas and whatnot. Like they had somebody in their face, you know, they get all like, you're not gonna talk to me like that. And it's just like, dude, this is everybody else is dealing with this shit too. And that guy also had to. That was always my mindset. Like, hey,
when you hear people say they don't want to join the military because they want to deal with stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like, dude,
like oh, if somebody gets in my face, blah, 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 you know.
Honestly, that's just weakness. Honestly, in my opinion, that's just all ego. That's just ego. A lot of guys want to act hard like they're fucking Mr. Macho over here. But like, dude, understand where you're at and what you're getting signed up for. So what I did is I did the research beforehand. I watched videos. I watched, you know, it's crazy. I watched a Marine fighting a freaking dragon. You know what I mean? Like I watched all that stuff. Like that was pretty cool. But I watched videos of boot camp. I watched the drill instructors getting into people's face. And I knew that ultimately their job is to break every aspect of civilian out of you and build you into a Marine. So this bullshit about, oh, I don't like people in my face. No fucking join, bro. Like, get that out the window. Throw that shit out the window. It's not about, I'm not saying that if somebody in the street gets in your face, do nothing. That's a different situation. But you're joining the military. You're joining to become someone else and to have a certain set of skills. So they have a job
than you and your ego.
Yeah, they have a job to do, man. So it's like I studied all that stuff and I mentally prepared for it. So boot camp was a walk in the park.
That's
it was
really
fun
interesting, dude. You did you'd like watch game tape. Basically, you're like, okay, what are they going to do? How are they going to yell at me? Prepare myself.
Yeah, I just mentally prepared. I watched the videos, and I was like, dude, this is going to be fun. Like,
did you do anything like that?
I mean, yes. I mean, Air Force is a little bit different than Marines for sure. But I mean,
did you try to prep yourself for?
Not necessarily. I was just ready to get the fuck out and go. And I was like, hey, man, I'm just here for the ride, dude. It is what it is. I'm in it. Like, whatever happens.
Yeah,
like,
you weren't
I'm
really worried
worried
about it. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I didn't like check out a bunch of info like he did probably from what it sounds like. But, you know, I just I went. I was like, hey, I'm here. Check out Desert Rose Arts on Google or at Desert Rose Arts on Instagram. I assume that's what it still is because I'm not on Instagram any longer. We're not going to talk about that. But Danny makes handmade, one-of-a-kind pieces, these rune malas of which she charges a lot of intention into to channel your ancestral power and the magic of the runes. So if that is for you, if you want to support a small business and get some custom pieces, check them out and show her some love. And also use code RP15 at checkout for a discount. Thank you.
Hold on, you guys. My name is Alex. You can find me if you wish to connect with me on Instagram on the account at diesel_fit03. If you would like good content, if you like good motivation, none of that sugarcoating stuff, though. I'm going to be warning you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but if you need the real, if you need the raw, you want to connect with somebody like me, go ahead and follow me there.
I'm gonna be the guy who asks the dumb questions the whole time, as you can tell. Treat me like I'm 5. But whenever you're talking about the basic training, treat me like I'm 5, if you would. Just tell me how that whole experience was.
Yeah. So I got to boot camp on October of 2017. And as I was saying earlier, man, it was a good experience. I had already mentally prepared for it. I knew that it was going to be challenging, although I believe it could have been a lot more challenging. I wish, honestly, Marine Corps boot camp, when I went in, I wish it was like how it was in Vietnam, like during that era where people could just take into the tree line and got their asses beat.
Yeah.
Because I joined the military, and again, it's not against any other branch, but I joined the Marine Corps because of this reputation. I wanted to be brutal. I wanted to be just like the most intense stuff. And I just think a lot of kids just slid through the cracks that shouldn't have been Marines, you know, and a lot of organizations out there like Mothers of America, all this different stuff having the influence on boot camp that it got softer. But I wasn't the kind of person that did something that I wasn't supposed to do to constantly get a drill instructor in my face. I like to stay under the radar. So I did what I was told, and I was constantly improving on myself. So I went to boot camp, for example, doing like 2 pull-ups, got out of boot camp doing like 30. That's because I spent my time, you know, every night just working on my stuff. So in the squad bay, you have like starboard side and port side, and you have like a what they call a quarter deck. This is where you get your ass beat. Like this is where you get PT, like physical stuff. And then they have pull-ups over there. So every night people, what they did is like they got letters from their families or how much they missed them. You see a bunch of dudes crying about missing family. I'm like, bro, you're only here for 3 months, bro. Chill out. Like, it's going to fly. It's not that bad.
They take y'all to the chapel and stuff and play like sad music?
I'm going to tell you about the chapel. I did go to the chapel
Did they
every
do that
Sunday.
to you?
Oh, yeah, they did that to us, man. There was a specific song they played. But yeah, go ahead.
Like to try to fuck with your head?
Just to make you get, I don't know. Well,
So I actually, talking about that, I did go to church every Sunday. I was raised Catholic, you know, but I did go to church every Sunday because that was 1 hour that you get away from the environment. That's just 1 hour to yourself. So I'm over there praising, doing all that crazy stuff just to kind of get away from the environment of, you know, the constant yelling and chaos of boot camp. But yeah, every night, man, people get their letters from their family members, and there's like, you see all dudes getting emotional. What I did was I read the letter, but I responded a day or two later. So that's 1 hour that you have to yourself every single night if you're not in the field doing training. And most people spend it writing back or doing all this different stuff, getting all emotional. I just rather work because at the end of the day, you get noticed as well. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go do pull-ups. I'm going to do push-ups. I'm going to work on myself because I knew how I went into boot camp physically. So every day just worked on myself, and it was just an interesting experience, man. Like people getting yelled at and them just breaking. Like I had this, so next to my rack where I was at, there was like this pillar, and they couldn't see me. Like the drill instructors couldn't see me from the beginning of the front of the room. So I'm over there just like laughing my ass off, and where they yell at people. There's this guy right next to me. He's right next to me, but he can't. The drill instructor couldn't see me, and he was like, "Yell, scream!" And this guy was like, "Yes, sir!" Like in the most feminine fucking way. And I'm dying. I'm literally in tears, but he couldn't see me. But you know, things like that. It was overall boot camp was just a good experience, man. It's all mental, you know.
it was, man. I had a pretty good time too. I remember kind of laughing, you know, watching some people get yelled at too, just because like you'd see them just like, oh my God. We had a guy piss himself one time.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, in uniform. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. I remember like, yeah, I did pretty well throughout. I mean, I got caught scratching my nuts one time. I don't know. They give you the whitey tidies, and I was just like really uncomfortable. So I did make it real quick. And I swear, yeah, this guy, Sergeant Herrera, he was like
A hawk, just
50 feet away. He was like, hey, you, scratching your nuts over there. He'd go pull me out of line. He got on my ass. You think you can just scratch your nuts? And I was just like, Jesus Christ, man. I'm never touching my nuts again. But it was just, honestly, it's just funny as shit, dude. I was trying not to die laughing.
Man,
That's so funny.
it was I don't know if it was in the Air Force like this, but like let's say somebody spit in the ground, they make you pick it up.
Spit on the ground?
I didn't ever see anybody spit on the ground.
You talking about like tobacco or just in general?
No, just
No,
spit.
you don't have like
It's
spit.
like walking
So
spit.
This dude had like a big old loogie, bro. He just like phlegm. He just spit it out, and drill instructor saw that and made him pick it up.
Wow.
He's like, pick it up and put it in your pocket. Homie went over there, picked up his shit, and put it in the pocket.
Oh my God.
So they do a lot of stuff. Like I went to boot camp in Paris Island, South Carolina. So Paris Island,
Like I've heard of that before.
there's this comparison of like Hollywood Marines, like the San Diego Marines boot camp over there, and then Paris Island. They both have their equal misery. They got hills. We've got fucking it's like
Swamps.
just swamps and gators and all the different stuff. But in Paris Island, so again, you get punished in two different places. The quarter deck that I mentioned, which is inside the building, your dormitory, or outside the pit. And the pit is like this big old sandbox. And the sandbox, as soon as you set foot in the fucking sandbox, you get attacked by sand fleas. So you got called out for scratching your nuts. These motherfuckers will bite you in your eyeball. You can't even scratch them. Like, oh, they gotta eat too. Let them be. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like looking straight. And these fucking things are just.
What is a sand flea?
It's like, think of it as like a mosquito.
Oh,
They just like
God, no.
they constantly fuck with you.
Oh,
It's like
God,
little tiny
no.
flies, and they just keep biting the fuck out of you.
Yeah, those things suck.
They're horrible. So I dealt with a lot of stuff, stuff like that. Again, the homie getting, called out for picking his spit off the ground. We had a couple of Marines that just were like terrified of water, bro. These motherfuckers would not even shower, and they smelled horrible. We literally ganged up on them and just threw them in the shower, and it looked like you threw acid on somebody. He's like, no, water. I'm like, get your
What?
fucking ass in the shower. Like, he just stunk. Like, hygiene is an important thing.
But you're
bro.
telling me
Dude,
buddy's about to go in the Marines. He can't take a shower?
He can't take, like, he was just terrified of water. He smelled like straight up dog shit, man. So we had to throw him in there. And this is overcoming some things. Like I said, I'm mentally prepared for boot camp. There's certain things that you can't see on YouTube, obviously, but like, for example, like you got comfortable taking the shit and people watch you. Like the bathrooms over there that didn't have no, like the stalls didn't have any doors. I'm over there taking the shit. Homie's just walking by. Like,
Right.
cool, man. Whatever, you watching me taking the shit. People get like all nervous. Oh my God, he saw me take. I don't give a fuck. I'm comfortable now with a whole lot of shit that most people cannot be. Like in the military, we have a dark sense of humor, though. We talk about all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And people can't handle it. And another thing that I had to overcome too is I don't know how if you guys had them in the Air Force or how long you guys had them shot or either branches, but we had like bird baths or whatever. So you go in a room as big as this, and there's like 30 motherfuckers. It's just like you shower, like you soap up, rinse, and then you dry. All like that. And I think you literally shower in about 30 seconds. And they have this thing, it's like the whole nut to butt thing. You're literally like trying not to have your dick touch the next man, but it's like 30 of you motherfuckers just like lining up, just quick. And then you shave, shower, do all that stuff. So you learn, you see the value over time. Like, hey, this has, it's a speed, the intensity, the constant routine of working out and being clean and having your weapons clean. It's just the standard.
Yeah, that's how it was in the bathroom and stuff. I'd fuck with somebody. I'd be like, "Yo, chest bump." And they'd be like, no.
Let's play swords.
That's hilarious.
We had doors on the stalls, but like, I mean, I was just super comfortable, man. When everybody was, I'd always have to shit like right before, everything went off and everybody was like about to brush their teeth and whatnot. And I'd have the door wide open, just greeting people. I'd be like, "Yo, what's up?"
That sounds
man?
just, you
Dude, you gotta have you gotta have a good fucking attitude, man. Like,
Right.
it does kind of suck. You're not like, you don't get just to do whatever you want. Everything's structured and you gotta like listen to what you're saying. So like, why the hell not have, I don't know, good time with it, dude.
That's what you're talking about with like the dark humor. I like helps you get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to have, overall in life, man, you got to have a good sense of humor. I think as we've noticed in the past couple of years, people get offended of like the dumbest shit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just laugh. Like comedy is not the same anymore.
Bro.
You look at people like Dave Chappelle who don't give a shit. I like Dave Chappelle. I met Dave Chappelle.
It is so funny.
But he'll say shit about anybody, and that's why we could all laugh at each other.
Right.
But now it's like, oh no, you can't say that because of
Yeah.
it's just stupid.
This
I've
and
heard
that.
before
Some group's gonna get upset or whatever, and it's just like, dude, fuck them.
I've heard that when comics, like in a society, when comics start being silenced, like that's a really huge indicator of like a societal collapse, because that's what they're there for, is like like a character.
Bring light to things.
Yeah, like a character in a movie who's like humorous relief, right? Like that's what they are in real life. And like if you can't talk about those things in a comedic way, that means you're taking it way too seriously, and it's just not a good idea. But you were talking about different things that you overcame, and one thing I was thinking the whole time was you kind of seemed like, I mean, you came in very intense, right? You had an idea about what you wanted to do, you prepared yourself, and you were like balls to the wall, right? And then you also mentioned that you would see people get broken, and you were like, it almost didn't compute to you. So do you think, I mean, the easy one to go to is like just purely childhood, but like where do you think that mentality came from? Other than the fact you just wanted to be there, but like where do you think that mentality came from, that you look at somebody, like I said, who breaks down and you're just like...
I just realized that nobody's going to come to the rescue, bro. You have to overcome your own shit. People... It's so easy to give our power away. People just kind of submit their power and their will to others, and they want a solution. But everything that you have, the cure to what ails you, is already within you. Most people don't realize it because it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to submit your power to external forces, and that's what led me to a depression, which we'll talk on later on. But ultimately, I knew that if I am to get myself out of a certain situation, I needed to do it for me. Like I knew I have the tools to overcome anything. So I seen people break, I seen all this different stuff, and I'm just looking at them like, dude, you don't believe in yourself. I've always held a belief in myself. I got challenged. There's times that I doubted, but I've always ultimately held a belief in myself that I could overcome anything. I mean, it's so easy to preach that we hear, you could become anything that you put your mind into, and that's true, but it gets too repetitive, and a lot of people really don't believe those words. It's just easier to say those words, but internally people don't believe it because they get challenged by their peers, they get challenged by the environment they put themselves in, and that ultimately contributes to your belief systems. Mm-hmm. And it's all about the system. It's all about what belief systems you have, and if you're surrounded by people who don't believe in themselves, or people who, lack ambition, you're going to be just like them. Yep. Then you got those other guys talking about male ego or whatever. I don't get influenced by nobody. Bullshit, bro.
Yeah.
We all get influenced. We motivate each other, especially as men. Women are more emotional, but we motivate each other. We are encouraged by other men and what they're doing, or the sense of camaraderie, hence the reason why I almost joined a gang and why I joined the military, stuff like that. I was constantly seeking for brotherhood.
Yeah.
But the whole idea that you don't get influenced by other people is bullshit.
No, I think that's a huge aspect. I mean, I look at like my brothers and the Korean stuff, and one's a pro fighter. I'm doing all I am. One's Swick in the Navy, has been for about 20 years. And like one just get retired from the Army infantry. Like dudes that are fucking constantly raising the bar, all doing. We're all doing different kind of martial arts, whether it's jujitsu or boxing or something like that. We're all trying to create art, but like I'm surrounded by that, and I have an oath with those guys. And I look around and I'm like, I need to stay up on top of my shit. Like, because if I like gain a bunch of weight and get sloppy, they're going to fucking call me out. That's the kind of brotherhood people need. You don't need people that are just going to be like, make an excuse to go get drinks on a fucking Wednesday, because that's not productive. That doesn't make you any better. It just puts you in the, in the sum of the population. Like I want us to be a whole nother level of individuals. And I think that's a massive contribution as to like who you become and who you are and what influences you in your life and your decisions. But you also need to be intentional about putting yourself around people like that. You know what I'm saying? That motivate you and fire you the fuck up and that are going to hold you accountable. And I think people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's because it's not easy constantly raising the bar, right? Like people just want what comes easier. So it's work to have to like take yourself to a whole nother level, and people aren't built for some reason. People can't take the pressure of other people around them that are going to like hold them to a standard. And I look around in my life and I'm like, dude, the people I spend my time with are all strong motherfuckers. Like the people that aren't, like they've weeded themselves out already, but you're going to end up resonating with some people, whatever path you take. So I don't know.
Well, I'm sure you guys have experienced this. I know you've talked about it a lot, but I've definitely experienced it in my life. Whenever you like have somebody that you're talking about and then they go out of your life, and you were talking before about what you were saying in the beginning of trying to challenge people and stuff. And a lot of times, like, people take that, they take that very defensively. Sometimes, it's like you're trying to help you, but those people see them out a lot of time because they take that challenge and they literally don't respond to it. Like they're like,
they get offended by it.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna hang out with Joe. He's always talking shit to me. It's like, you're not talking shit to you. I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're offended, then it's, not to sound like
it's like the ego thing we were talking about, though. It's exactly the ego thing we're talking about. It's like Joe's trying to help you drop the ego. Listen.
And that's the thing. That's the problem with a lot of them. They want others to agree with their shortcomings. True love ain't lies. I'd rather be fucking brutally honest and say, dude, you're fucking up. You look like this. You look like that. You're fucking shit, dude. You're way better than this. But for some reason, society's been conditioned right now where they want the soft approach. Like, no, it's okay, Johnny. It's okay to go, and to fucking be extremely overweight and destroy your life. No, motherfucker. It's not okay. Get your shit together. 'Cause at the end of the day, it's not about you. If you have a wife, if you have kids, or you intend to, then it's not about you, motherfucker. What version are you presenting to them? Because they deserve the better version of you. So if you are brutal as a friend, I have an obligation to you to be like, hey, motherfucker, get your shit together. Why would I agree to your shortcomings? I'm doing you a disservice. It's crazy that we're on the subject because I commented on something that Dylan had posted about one of his videos, where he mentions something about somebody being overweight, like less of a man or whatever. And then you see somebody in the comments like, well, who are you to say this? Like, dude, and then he's like, oh, great. Now we have a coach that is calling people like fat or whatever. I'm like, look, you're a bigger disservice because you support somebody's decisions to slowly kill themselves.
Yeah.
You are the reason why people are down this path because you rather sugarcoat it. You rather be too nice. And here's the thing, like too much compassion creates a lack of accountability.
Yeah.
I'd rather be brutal. True compassion comes from a form of aggression. I'd rather be aggressive. I'd rather be in your face.
Yeah.
And that's genuine love when I could hold you accountable to create a better version of you or overcome your shit, overcome your situation. If I am being too nice, then I am agreeing with you. Like I am contributing to your demise, bro. I'd rather be like, get your shit together, bro. You're way better than this.
And some people deliver it differently. You get some guys that inspire others by like being in their ass, and people responded that well. Me, some would maybe assume I'm that way, but like I'm very just like kind in general.
He's a big old teddy bear.
That's
just
how
a big
I am.
old teddy bear.
But I'm not going to sugarcoat shit for people either in my life. I'm gonna be like, hey, what's up? It's going to come off nice with like whatever why aren't you you said you were going to lose weight. Why aren't you losing weight? You know, I ask and like, they're like, oh, well, I'm like, listen, man, you're making excuses, you know, but I'm going to have my own approach. I'm not going to yell at them, but I'm like, dude, you're fucking up in my own way. And I think it's like, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm still delivering the same messages, you know, this guy would and vice versa. So, and I think, you know, everybody needs people like that in their lives. And but like to go back to your thing with Dylan's comment, you know, it's not to like show anybody. It's not, you're not sitting there. People get so offended as if you're like attacking them. It's not like, hey, I hate you because you're overweight, right? It's like, hey, man, this shouldn't be the way. You know, it's become too comfortable, and we got this massive comfort zone and being like, hey, it's okay to be this way, but that's not the case. That's bad for you in every way. That's bad for your life in every way, and it's going to trickle into everything that you do. So. I'm sorry. No, finish it. But go ahead.
You know what the cop out is when people say it's like, oh, but you got to live a little. You call that living, bro? Right. Like you call that self-destructive. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't enjoy a fucking burger. I don't do it every day though. Yeah. I'm not saying don't eat the foods that when we're talking about fitness, I'm not saying don't eat what you enjoy, but there's a clear distinction that you overdo it.
But yeah, but you got to be disciplined. At the end of the day, like, yeah, you can enjoy those things. I'll eat.
I knew you were going to talk about the pie or the donuts, yeah.
Or I'll do like last Friday, like 9 or 10 donuts, man. You know, like there's like gourmet donuts, man. But guess what? I'm still getting after it. Like I know I can do that. Lydia can make me a key lime pie. It's my favorite thing in the world. I'll eat half for. It'll be a Saturday night. I'll eat half of it before I go to bed, and the other half for breakfast, and then I'll be in the gym training legs and hitting fucking 500 burpees. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, hey, I'm good.
I'm gonna earn my pie right now.
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing. I enjoy that shit, but I don't abuse it. You know, but people don't know how to balance those things. Dabble in that a little bit in order to like enjoy it, but also earn it as well.
Have you seen those people? We're on the subject of TikTok before. You ever seen those people that make videos and they got millions of subscribers and views? They make a bunch of money of them just eating. They have a freaking table full of fucking food. Most of these people are not even alive anymore.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen that stuff pop up like on Instagram. I haven't really got into the.
You're talking about like the MUK like mukbang.
I don't even like following these people, but like I've seen sometimes you go to the feed and on TikTok you see this guy. I forgot what his name is, but like he'll have a ton of shit, like just food, and he's just like stuffing his face. And this girl is talking about, I'm only a 1 cup of noodle girl, and she's got like a big old fucking thing. And then you got the show, the whole My 600 Pound Life, all the different things. It may sound like I'm the biggest fucking asshole. I have no sympathy for these motherfuckers. It is the most selfish decision that anybody can make. These are the most selfish people. When they get themselves to a certain point, because now you become a liability. How are you an asset? How are you an asset to your people? I feel bad as a man, as a person, to a society, if I can't contribute in a positive way. If you are neglecting yourself and you need to be rolled around in a fucking wheelchair or in a damn scooter, and you see them at Walmart or whatever, they're the most fucking rude people. Get out of my way. Dog,
because they're miserable.
You're fucking miserable. Yeah. You're projecting your insecurities. You're projecting your own hatred to other people. Now you're blaming them because you fucked up.
Right.
So no, I don't have no sympathy for
I saw a video of this person. They had the cart, and there was like a baby, or there's a stroller, there's a baby or something in it, kid, and they like tripped or it started rolling, and they tripped and they couldn't get off the ground. Dude. And it was headed towards the road, and it got to the road. Some guy from over here ran over and stopped it, and they were still on the ground trying to get up. Well, and it's like, dude, like your decisions can get your kid killed.
Yeah. And when you're looking at, it's interesting to hear you describe that too, because like you say like, you know, you're doing something like that to yourself, and you talk about like, okay, you have a wife, you have a kid, like do it for yourself, but do it for them. But then it also gets to a certain point where they become a liability. And like hearing you talk about that, you're thinking about from the military. It's like you have a squad, you got a guy who's holding everybody else back. Now you're risking everybody else's lives, not just your own. And so like with the people that you're saying that they become a liability, it's like, you know, it's one thing for you to destroy yourself, but when you're so bad off that things like that are happening and that you become a liability to society as a whole, that's even way worse. But
well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're at a certain point, and there's two things. This isn't to hate on everybody. If you're at a certain point and you like recognize it and you're like, all right, I'm trying to be better, and you're changing your habits, and you may be far from your goal. Like this isn't geared, because if you're trying to progress, like I said, like I was talking about when I had the drug problems, right? Like I got myself to a certain point, but I made a decision to get better. It didn't happen overnight. I just had to start doing it. I had to start on that path. If you've started to head down the path of like trying to change yourself. And this isn't even like in regards to just like weight, but like overall and your mindset, everything progressing to be better. That's amazing. Like I applaud you. Keep fucking rolling. But if you've gotten to a certain point in your life to where you're just like, screw it, that's the issue. And there's, at the end of the day, more and more people every day are at that point. They're just like, I don't care.
I think I have
you know what I'm saying?
I think I have
They
a
make
new quote
excuses
for
for
you
it.
that you'll like. You just reminded me of it. It goes, success is the pursuit of a worthwhile goal. The pursuit of a worthwhile goal. Not achieving it, not getting there. Success is the pursuit of a worthwhile goal. Right?
Yeah.
So like to your point, like if you just started in your fitness journey, you're not going to drop 100 pounds overnight, but that's okay because you're already successful because you're pursuing a worthwhile goal. Right?
Yeah.
So trust the process, et cetera. I want to throw this in there real quick before we still have a few minutes on this segment, but I want to make sure I get this in here because you were talking about like you're basically doing them a disservice by not pushing them forward. And I think that happens a lot in parenting. I think it happens in friendships and intimate relationships. But do you know Jordan Peterson by chance? So he talks about this, and he said, basically, you were talking about society at whole being okay with people being the way that they are, basically. And I've heard him put it like, everybody tells you that you're okay being the way that you are. And he said, and that's exactly wrong. He said, and also, what kind of message is that? That you have no power and no control, and just how you are is fine, and there's no need to improve, and and he was talking about particularly for young people, you're 19, 20 years old. No, you have a long way to go. Yeah. It's like, what kind of message is it to be like, no, you're good? It's like, no, you're not. And like, it's a disservice to that person. And it's exactly the wrong message. It's exactly the wrong message. Why is it okay to be that way? Like, it's not,
I think there's an agenda, and I'm going to go down the rabbit hole on this one. I think the goal from higher powers that be, call them elites, call them the government, call them whoever, to get everybody fat, broke, miserable, depressed, and dependent. So it's easier to control a population that has all those qualities, because a threat to them is somebody that can think for themselves, that is independent, that has fucking get their shit together. So society looks at it as like, well, you don't understand. They got a fucking disease. First of all, I don't think obesity is a disease, it's a choice. And it may seem like I'm an asshole. I don't give a fuck. But at the end of the day, it's like, you chose to look this way. I can't feel sorry for you. I don't think that, hey, they should all fucking die. I don't want them to go to fucking, to have all these diseases. No, I'm not going to put that out into the universe. I ultimately want them to change, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because at the end of the day, I'm doing you a disservice. My job, my purpose, because I used to be a fat person. I used to have all these vices. I used to have all this stuff, and now I'm no longer there. I have a mission, a purpose to deliver what was given to me in the same exact form. I'm not for everybody. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So if that's what people are looking for, I'm not the right person. But if I could change somebody's life how mine was changed, and by not saying things like as nice as possible, I'd rather just be brutal. That's what saved my life. And that's my purpose in life. So
yeah, and then you
help
talk
others.
Well, I love that, man. And then hey, we need your personalities out there, man. At the end of the day, we need an array of that. And so I think that's really important. And, to touch on what you were saying, like the powers that be or whatever, that control aspect. Dude, this is like, this is why every time I see like, because we got shows we watch like on Peacock or whatever, like we'll wife and I'll just be chilling, relaxing at the end of the day. We're watching Vampire Diaries now, dude. I'm hooked. I'm hooked on Vampire Diaries. Don't get me started, all right?
Bro.
Dude, it's so underrated.
No, I've watched
awesome.
it. I've watched the whole thing with Margaret, trust me.
But, these commercials come on, man, and I just constantly see the message they're putting through these things, and I get so mad about it. And they push this consumer mindset just to make you more and more comfortable. And it's one thing to have some shows, but just to sit there and watch TV all the time. And this is why, personally, this is a big reason I don't get into sports. A lot of people are like, why don't you watch sports? I'm like, well, because it's a distraction. Like if you really pay attention to it, if you give people that, and that keeps them attached to this thing that isn't really, if you think about it, and it's not to knock it, but it's not going to help you progress in life, but it keeps you distracted from other things, or, creating your own hero, becoming your own, in-house name. You got someone wearing a jersey with another dude's name on it. Like I'll never do that, because in my eyes, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to, I got my last name. I don't need another dude's name on my back,
right.
and I'm going to create my own hero. I'm going to outshine them in my own way. But so I think they just distract people from doing that themselves. And so I'm just not a sports guy, and it's not to knock people that watch sports. Like, hey, I know a lot of fucking killers that like pay attention to sports, but it's not for me at all.
Well, what was the Coliseum built for?
Just that exact thing. They I don't know what the quote is. I forget it, but it talks about bread and circuses. You give them, I don't know. I'm going to look it up on this quick break.
I know what you're talking about, but it was literally to distract them from political matters. The dude didn't want the emperor or whatever. I can't remember who it was who actually started the Coliseum in the games, but maybe it was, I'm going to get it wrong. But yeah, it was literally, that was the stated goal. Like, put them in there. They won't pay attention to politics anymore. And then we can do whatever we want.
Yep. Anyways.
And we're going to have to cut out here in just a second anyways. But you were talking about the fighting thing, and you were talking about getting fat and getting dependent and getting all these things, and that they want it that way. One way that I think is like interesting to think about is like, what's more difficult, like for it, let's say I'm that person trying to do that to you. What's more difficult for me to do, to fight you, or to just cut the blood flow off and just let you not be a threat to your, like, they can either do that and just completely prevent, they don't even have to fight you. If they could just emasculate you and make you fat and dependent and depressed, it's like you can't be a threat, right? It's like I would much rather have, if I'm going to fight that person, it's like, or I could just not fight them at all, and I could put these couple things in their way and they'll stumble themselves, and now I'm good.
The phrase was, give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt. And it talked about like superficial appeasement. And that's, to me, like 100%, dude. Look at food culture, which, don't get me wrong, I'm a foodie, but I eat pretty much the same thing 99% of the time. And look at all the sports and all the distractions out there, man. I mean, let's face it, dude, that's exactly what that's referring to. If you can't see past that and be like, oh, yeah, that's crazy, Joe. Like, no, man, just look deeper. But people don't want to do that, because then you question everything.
Yep.
And people, once you start questioning everything and gaining more knowledge on shit, it becomes like almost kind of chaotic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, moving forward, your military time, finish up the remainder of that, talk about, I don't know if you were, like, obviously you went overseas and stuff like that. I don't know where you went. I don't know if you want to touch on any of that stuff, but yeah, take us through the rest of your military duties, and we'll move forward.
So to fast forward, so I served in the infantry. I was 0311, 0313, which is the Marine Corps MOS for infantrymen and LAV crewmen. Did a combat tour to Afghanistan in 2011. It was a great experience, a very humbling experience. Sometimes we get caught up on being ungrateful for what we don't have. Going to a place like that where people have houses made out of freaking clay. Their source of water was just like a river, which our vehicles pass through, their animals drink and bathe in or whatever. So it's like, how clean is it?
Crazy.
And I gave this little girl a bottle of water once during a mission, and the bottle of water was just ice cold because we had a facility. And she started crying. She must have been like 5 years old. I'm like, damn, the power of a water bottle.
Insane.
Yeah, that really is.
It was a gut check for me, and kind of humbled me a little bit in that sense. Then I met my wife in the Marine Corps. She was a Marine as well.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
I met her in 2008. We got married. We have a couple of kids now. When I deployed, actually, my son was 20 days old, so I only knew him for 20 days, and I'm over there like, I hope I make it back.
Wow, dude.
So
what kind of deployment? I know we were talking about combat, and you beat infantry earlier, but like, what kind of things did you see when it comes to like your job and like what you were doing over there?
Well, as far as my job, I was with a mobile unit, LAV, light armor vehicles, and my job as the only infantry platoon in that particular company, our job was to escort a battalion commander wherever he went. So we were his personal security detail, basically like bodyguards. And this particular battalion commander was more about the hearts and minds than a previous battalion commander, which was about like offing everybody. But so we did a lot of,
you're talking about with the people there. More about like winning over their hearts and minds.
Yeah, winning the hearts and minds. And, we did a bunch of missions and Shuras. Shuras is basically like meetings with local villagers and elders. And so it was a good experience to be in there, like to actually watch how the people interact and, their culture, their things they eat and how they treat each other. And it was a good thing, but a lot of us wish we had a little bit more action.
So I couldn't help you thinking about that. You're talking about the heart and mind. You're talking about me with the elders and how much of a great experience that was. So how does that interact with your initial desire of why you got in?
I think it completely contradicts it, but I am grateful that I don't have to live with a lot of those demons as well. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people glorify war, but they haven't been to war. So it's like I could understand. I have veteran friends of mine they deal with some shit.
Yeah.
So I can never put myself in their shoes. I have my own things to battle. but there's things that you definitely don't want to experience. And I'm glad I wasn't able. I didn't experience things like that, but because my job was different, you know. But it was a great experience to just kind of interact with the locals and interact with you know, see how they live and all that good stuff. But yeah,
Is that what kind of
it forced
softened you on that?
was that?
Like meeting the people, did that soften your approach to that?
It just made me realize that I have no position to complain or bitch about anything. You know what I mean? We have just enough. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to want more. I'm not saying don't be ambitious, but we have what we need.
Yeah.
People ain't got shit.
Yeah, dude.
So
Yep. I mean, hey, like talking about to my wife about getting a, you know, home on some land. I was talking about this on the podcast with Tyler. Like we want to get some land, all this stuff, you know, and I'd love it to come like next month, but it'd take a little while. We got a lot of things to square away. And at the end of the day, dude, whether I'm holding my daughter on a chair on some land or in the house we're in now, I'm still holding my daughter, dude. Like I've got it made already, you know, but yes, it's okay to want more, but realize that most people here, we've got everything we've got surplus. Even some people in like worser conditions, you know, we've got surplus, but people can't focus on just that because they want.
yeah.
And, but yeah, at the end of the day, that experience from what I gained, it just, you had the intention of wanting to blow shit up, but really it just forced a change in perspective. And that's a positive thing too, because I think being able to have varying perspectives on things can really diversify you as an individual and make you more well-rounded. So that's a good thing. Hell yeah, man.
So did you just have that one deployment?
I did. I wasn't. So I was supposed to go in 2009. Unfortunately, I mean, I did the workup, did everything. Unfortunately, they pulled me out of deployment like a week prior to deploying. And on that deployment, unfortunately, we lost 8 guys, like friends of ours. I got a buddy who stepped on a doorway with a corpsman, which is a Navy medical personnel. And they stepped on an IED, releasing 400 pounds of pressure or whatever. I guess it was 400 pounds of pressure, and they blew up. My buddy's legs were like over there, and his body was over there from what I was told. He lived for about 12 seconds, so he was gone. Corpsman was gone. I got other friends of mine that got hit with mortar shrapnel, other IEDs. So what got me, I didn't go to that deployment. So I wasn't supposed to go on my deployment in 2011, but we did a memorial for these guys. And it's kind of crazy how things work out. So we're doing a memorial for them. Bright and sunny day. We were in our uniform. We did a memorial for them. Like I think it was like 2010, and all of a sudden it just started pouring. Like it was just sunny like it is outside right now, and it just started pouring out of nowhere. So it's just like some kind of divine thing, and it inspired me to go. It's like I'm not gonna get out of the Marine Corps without doing a tour, because you kind of feel a little bit guilty, as if you could have done something. There's nothing you could have done. Obviously, those guys are gone, but you feel like I should be there. So I volunteered to go during the entire time. My wife just got pregnant during the entire time. Like most of her pregnancy, I was gone. I was doing pre-deployment, training, and then my son was born, and 20 days later, I shipped out. But she understood. That's one of the things I'm grateful for my wife, because she understood. She's like, I know you gotta go. I know you wanna go. So she understood that I had to put my family second, and ultimately, deploy to be in a place where I had lost, brothers at.
Why did they pull you off of that deployment?
I have no idea. I guess they needed an extra body to work on the S3 office. S3 is the one that ran all the training, evolutions, and for the entire command. So I did a lot of the administrative stuff. During
Just kind of chance then.
Yeah, so they just pulled me off, and we lost we lost several guys on that deployment. So I just kind of had that sense of guilt, and I wasn't supposed to go on the deployment because I was supposed to get out in October of 2011, and we would not be back from deployment until November. So I extended my contract to January 2012. So we did the tour, had a great experience, did all the things over there, came back December, and then immediately I went into, like what's called SEPs and TAPs or whatever, or like the civilian training to become a civilian again. I did resumes and all that stuff. I didn't really have a post-deployment leave. I was just ready to go. So get out of the military, and after that, we got out. We moved to Hawaii, went to California, went to Las Vegas, back to California, and now North Carolina.
Living
during
in
that
those?
time frame.
Damn, you're moving and living there for a little while?
Yeah. So I got out in January 2012.
How many years you do?
4.5 years.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, so I extended my contract just to do the tour, and then after that, I could have stayed, but the whole dual military thing would have been difficult.
Dude, your thing about that is so funny. About how you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't tell him, but he
When
wanted to do career.
When I joined, you could sign for 4 or 6. So I was like, dude, I'm doing 6 because I'm going to be like
Sign
a
me up
chief
for
master
60,
sergeant.
baby.
I'm like 6 years. I'm like, I'm going to be Chief Adams 30 years.
Yeah.
And like 4 years in, a bunch of my buddies were getting out. I was like, fuck. I signed for 6. I still got 2 years left. No, I'm glad I did it, man. And, you know, like I everything works out how it should. But at the time, I was like, I was 1 foot out the door. I was like, I learned, you know, halfway through, I wasn't going to make a career of it. You know, I was like, there's something more for me. You know, and I think it's a great career for a lot of people. More power to you for doing it, man, because it's a different lifestyle and it's a massive commitment. But I knew like that wasn't my path. And so, yeah, I did my 6 and I was like, peace.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be a career thing for me either, even though I loved the Marine Corps. But remember, I have my father to show me how to do certain things or be that man in my life for my childhood. So I ultimately decided to get out to be a father.
Hell yeah, man.
I wanted to create a family at a young age. I mean, I got married when I was like, 23?
Yeah.
Or 22. And
not having your father was like a big influence.
it was a big influence. You know, I wanted to make them proud. So I joined the military. I did something with my life, got a degree and all that good stuff. But I wanted to have a family of my own. I wanted to give my kids, my youth, to be able to watch them grow and do the things that my father unfortunately couldn't do for me. So even though I loved the military, I loved wearing the uniform, being a father and a husband was more important to me.
Oh, yeah.
So then I got out and been all over since.
I mean, dude, I'll say it again. I like being a family man. It's the best thing in the world. Nothing beats it, dude. I love that more than anything. But that's I mean, you had to make a sacrifice. You made the sacrifice and had to put your family second to deploy and all that stuff. So now it's like, all right, they're first.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. And so getting out of the military, that transition, you know, because I want to get, you know, try to get as much of the rest of your story we can. What came after that? You know, did you have a plan getting out or were you just like winging it?
And then moving around, what were you doing professionally when you were moving?
I mean, so when I got out, we moved to Hawaii. I really didn't have a plan. I just kind of, let's just go to, because my wife grew up in Hawaii. So let's go to Hawaii. We lived there and worked at the men's warehouse, my first job, go to school, get a degree. The plan was to go get a degree into criminal justice, law enforcement. We lived in Hawaii for about a year. After that, I moved to the Bay Area in Northern California. And I guess the plan was to get into law enforcement for whatever reason. But I had already discovered entrepreneurship. You know, I had gotten into direct sales, network marketing, and I've always been an optimistic person, like very entrepreneurial, ambitious, like open-minded individual. And so I was introduced to entrepreneurship, and I was just sold to the possibilities because I hated going to school, bro. I mean, we talked about it earlier. And I saw that somebody without a degree can make millions of dollars or could do this, because I also think college is a business, but that's a separate conversation. But
did you know what kind of business you wanted to do?
I was just testing the waters, man. Like I got into direct sales, like I said, network marketing, and I wanted to just live that life, I guess. But it was more of a personal development journey. A lot of people want the success without the internal work. So it was more of a personal development journey for me. So I read a bunch of books and got into a lot of personal development, like reading positive material, listening to positive content, surrounding myself with positive people to kind of fast forward into the thing. But ultimately, I had a lot of internal shit that I needed to do myself. And the most important thing was letting go of the vices, you know, the alcohol, because I found love in the places that I was trying to escape from.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was searching.
That's a really great point. Just pause that for a second. You found love in the places you were trying to escape from.
Yeah. People are trying to find love in those places, in the same places you're trying to get rid of, like leave them. So I was looking for all these mentors, but they had also vices themselves. Where like in Vegas, for example, a lot of, you know, the gamblers and party goers. So I used to go to the clubs, used to go to strip clubs, used to go to all this different stuff. And it's just like, it just sucks. I'm not drawn to this, man. But like I was seeking for mentorship, and that's where they hung out on. So
yeah, it is crazy. I mean, because there's a lot of extremely successful people that have some wild vices out there that, you know, but you know, in order to get to the best version of yourself and reach your maximum potential, you have to eliminate all those things, you know, and that's what you decided to do ultimately. So how did that go after that? Obviously you weren't liking that lifestyle. So what was the next move for you in order to break those things?
So I left that particular industry, got into financial services, and it was a great experience. I met a lot of great people, but even then, a lot of these guys also hung around. They invested, like the whole party atmosphere was part of it. Like I've been in yacht parties, driven the exotic cars, been in mansions, did all that cool stuff, but I didn't let go of the vices. I didn't let go of alcohol. So
So I was going to ask real quick, is that the main thing at this point that you were dealing with was alcohol?
Yeah, I drank almost every day.
Gotcha.
So fast forward, we moved to North Carolina in January of 2020. We purchased our first home in North Carolina, and we wanted to develop a community, a sense of community with neighbors, and this is our first home. The kids were playing around with other kids, and we developed a relationship with a lot of these great people, but they were not ambitious. You know what I mean? You kind of know that when like I want more out of life, and the people who you're surrounding yourself with, they have a limited mindset. So don't get me wrong, like we cooked for each other, and they told us that they loved us. We're like family, and it was a beautiful relationship. But one time we're just hanging out around the fire, my wife mentioned something about her dream car being like a Cadillac Escalade or something like that. And then they're like, why would you want that when you can have this? And I'm looking at them like, that's what she fucking wants. If you tell me, Alex, I want to buy myself a Rolls Royce, fuck yeah, Joe. What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
Like my job as a friend, if you're going to call me a friend, is to also invest into your dream. Who am I to shit on your dream? If you want a fucking Escalade or a Bentley or a Rolls Royce, I'm going to encourage you to do it. What can I contribute to help you achieve? That's my obligation when I made a commitment to be your friend. But when you say, why you should have this when you can have that, like, dude, don't put your limiting beliefs onto me.
So how did that conversation go after they said that?
I looked at them like, that's what she fucking wants. What do you want? They're like, oh, well, I'm just saying you could have this. It'll take you to the same place. And you could have this watch. Like, if I want a fucking Rolex, I buy myself with that Rolex.
They had no idea what they stepped in.
You only have one shot at life, bro. Like, that's the thing. People always are just so limited in mindset that want to put their limiting beliefs onto you. Just because you gave up on life doesn't mean I have to give up on my life. If it was presented to me, like I believe in universal laws. One of them is a law of proximity, being around people, or the law of exposure. The law of exposure states that when you are exposed to something, it cannot be unexposed. I already mentioned, I've been in yachts, I've been in Lambos, Ferraris, Bentleys, I've been in mansions. It was exposed to me by the universe and by my choices to get me to that point where I could see this can be possible for me. And it's not about living a lavish lifestyle and just shitting on everybody. I just see, because get me wrong, a lot of people who are in denial, they're saying, oh, I don't want that, bro. You admire it, bro. Like you look at him like, damn, must be nice. It must be nice. So rather than just staying there and just saying, oh, it must be nice, what can you do to manifest that into your life? What can you do to have that? Because I promise you, like, you're not going to complain if something were to happen to you and you have that kind of lifestyle. You have a lot more possibilities. You can help your family. You could do a lot of great things. So I just saw that as potential, man. I've been in all those places, and I started surrounding myself and exposing that environment. So I created a belief that it is possible for me. I just have to eliminate the environment that's not aligned with that. And kind of fast forward into a situation with the neighborhood that I was in. Their minds, even though they're great people, they're grounded. They don't go nowhere. They don't do anything exciting. So when they're just like average, I can't do that. I can't align with people who are they settle for average and mediocrity. If I've been somewhere and I've seen some things and I've experienced wealth, I want it. And it's not just about the money, but it's about the mindset. Like my mentor, he makes over $5 million a month. Yeah, I got to nurture that shit. And it's not about the mindset, about the money, but it's about the mindset. And these doors are opening up for me where I have a large network, or not even a large network. I have a select group of people that are extremely, extremely wealthy, but also wealthy in their mind as well. They have really good value to provide. So long story short, during this time in this particular neighborhood, I drank every freaking day because that's what alcohol did. It validated our friendship. Like, what else can we talk about when we get together? We're always drinking every single day. We talk about useless shit. So you got to watch what you talk about. And if what we're talking about is not productive, it's not beneficial, it's not getting us to the next level, there's a problem. And that's where the flag started coming in.
Yeah, man. And
be impeccable with your word from the 4 agreements.
Yep. Be impeccable with your word. And there's, something you hit on there, because I find this relevant. Like, I was telling a friend, like, yeah, I want to do this and that. And he was like, oh, why do you need that? And I said, dude, you got it wrong. I don't need any of this shit. I'm a very happy individual. I'm very strong internally, all these things. I got what I need. But like, what the fuck is wrong with wanting to achieve certain things? I want to gain financial wealth because guess what? I want fucking freedom.
We're past needs, bro.
Yeah, we're past needs, dude. And so don't get it twisted. He's like, oh, you don't need that. You don't need that. I'm like, I know what I need. But there's nothing wrong with desiring or working to achieve certain goals, especially on a financial level, because like it opens up doors, it opens up opportunity and freedom. And also, like, yeah, I would love to not like, nobody wants to struggle to take care of their family. No man wants that. So to be able to like fucking be able to be comfortable with your, like, hey, my family's good. If I was to be dead tomorrow, they're squared away. Like, that's a fucking great feeling. Mm-hmm. And so that's something to work towards. And it's like you said, though, working towards these things, but also keeping that mind wealthy too, and your heart, right? So working towards it without losing these two. Because a lot of people achieve financial wealth and they achieve all this different stuff, but then say tomorrow they had no money, then they're nothing because they put all of themselves into that. So it's also growing it all together. And I found that to be very important. Like no matter where I get, you know, with the business and like financially and all this stuff, like at the end of the day, that's all material, but like everything in here is eternal. So I got to carry that with it and create wealth there.
That's
so
because your level of success can never exceed your level of personal development.
exactly.
So you could be financially well off, but if your mindset is shit, that's why a lot of these people who are successful, they off themselves. They're like the most depressed, the most medicated. I'm like, you haven't addressed something else.
Yeah.
And that's something else that people oversee. They don't pay attention to. That's the shit that you need to pay attention to. And that's why I also aligned with fitness, because that's what benefited me and my mental health.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, man. That's like, I feel like the fitness is just a really good starting point for everything else. You know, like it, because a lot of people that maybe don't work out at all, and you notice, I've known a lot of people, and I know myself as well, before I started working out, I was just not really focused on any kind of personal development. But it was like the stepping stone, and it just bled into all the other things. Mm-hmm. So if you're focused on that part of yourself, taking care of yourself, it really, that discipline, then that bleeds into every other aspect of your life.
Absolutely.
So, I want to throw one thing on about the law of exposure. You got about 9.5. But one way that I've heard that put that I really like is a mind open to a new experience can never be closed again. Mm-hmm. So like once your mind was open to the realities of financial success and that you could achieve that, like you said, when you're hanging out with the other people, like your mind has been open to that. And so you can't ever go back. Yeah. Like we were talking about with the law of exposure. So yeah.
Plus, dude, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that a closed mind is the most expensive shit that you could ever own. So it's like, everybody looks at everything as a fucking scam. Everything is a scam. Everything is a lie. I'm like, bro, what if you just reverse the thinking and look at it as possibilities? Does it hurt to try? Does it hurt to just experience something? It's all experiences. Go through one thing. If you fail, great. But it's not failure. You learn something. It's not like you fail. Fail is when you just completely give up and do fucking nothing for the rest of your life. But if you tried something, it didn't go as planned, you learned something. You actually gained. You won knowledge. But people are afraid to seek it.
Dude, simple example. I'm reading this book, The Obstacle is the Way, but it talks about, I'll say you're working on this report for work or whatever. You got this whole thing you did, and it just gets deleted on X somehow. And you're like, oh shit, I got to redo this report. I got to do it a second time. It says, worst case, you get better at it because you did it again. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, damn, that's such a simple way of putting it. Like, a lot of people be like, my day's fucking ruined. The report's gone. I got to get it in. And they're stressing. But really just twisting that mindset a little bit and be like, well, this sucks. I got to do it again. But hey, next time, I'm going to be a rock star at this shit and just fly through. Yeah. There's always, every obstacle creates opportunity. I mean, it's so relevant right now. Like looking at this IG thing. Yeah, it sucks, dude. I put a lot of work, money, effort into everything I've done for that just to be stripped away. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, there's opportunity here. There's other avenues. This can get attention. I can use this in order to take things to a whole nother level that maybe that wouldn't have got me. So, but it's all about the way you think things. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Honestly, it's just one thing from this conversation that we've had today is, man, it's just so simple just to change your way of thinking just a little bit and you can have a whole new world out in front of you.
Yeah. It's all programmed, as I mentioned. Everything that you say, everything is creates a vibration and a frequency. So if you're constantly talking about negativity, if you're constantly talking about how miserable your life is, you're going to attract that. Again, I believe in universal law. So it's kind of like the mirror effect. You tell the universe you want this, so there's something wrong with you. The universe gonna be like, Roger that. I'm gonna send you more of it. Yeah. So you're creating those more experiences, like those experiences that you put yourself in there. It's not what happens to you, but in the way that you respond. Yeah. It's all about how you respond. Yeah, life is not gonna go fucking sunshine and rainbows, man. But like if something happens that is not ideal, what can I learn from this situation for me not to repeat it or become a better version or move in a positive direction. So just start speaking better things. And I'm not just saying, just sit in a corner saying great things about yourself. You got to follow it with action as well.
Oh, without a doubt, man. Well, I was listening to some people in my class the other day talk about, they're all like 19 years old. It's such a weird dynamic. Anyways, I'm like,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, like my life's just in a totally different way.
I would pay so much money just to see Joe in a classroom. Like with all
They were talking about,
19-year-olds.
they were talking about manifesting things, and I'm like, yeah, but it can't be done without action. You can manifest all day, and the opportunity may arise, but like unless you do something about it, it's not going to follow through. Like you can, I believe in manifestation, but that's like going to whatever God you believe in, and you're praying like,
Bro.
oh, I need you to do this for me. Okay, well then you move forward in life, and maybe those opportunities arise, but you're like, no, I got to like do this to achieve that. No, I'm going to back off. But like that's what you asked for. You gotta have action behind that. So manifest all you want, but be ready for some tests along the way to get there. And dude, what I've learned, especially in the past several years, is like the greatest obstacles or like those unfortunate happenings have been the most beautiful places, because like those have really strengthened here and here. And I'm beyond grateful for like whatever unfortunate happening has been, because like those have really made me focus on what matters and have taken me to new heights as an individual anyways. So
It's the last thing I got for the episode, but you were talking about that, season opportunities type thing. I think I said this on the episode, but I was just talking to my buddy about this last night. There's this hilarious story that I love about a guy who's drowning and a boat comes to save him. And they ask him to get in the boat and he says, no, God's going to save me. And they drive on. Second boat comes. You want to get in the boat, try to save him. He says, no, God's going to save me. Drives on. Third boat comes. You want to get in? No, God's going to save me. And he drowns. And then he gets to heaven and he says, I thought you were going to save me. He said, I sent you 3 boats.
Right?
It's like, I mean,
waiting for a magic hand to come out of the
like,
clouds.
what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I sent you 3 damn boats.
Right.
And the other thing was about the vibrations and you getting back kind of what you put out. Think and Grow Rich is a great book that talks about that. But it also something we were talking about on the other podcast and with my buddy last night is that you find what you look for, right? So like when you're putting things out and you're getting things back, it's like like a really easy way to explain it in today's world is that it's an algorithm. Like your mind is an algorithm. Universe is an algorithm. If you put out gratitude, like you said, it does not discriminate. It just gives you what you put out. So like, if you put out gratitude, oh look at that! We were talking about a gratitude journal last time.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons why I like keeping gratitude journals because it teaches you to look for things to be grateful for, right? But like you're saying, you can also teach yourself to look for shitty situations and how fucked up the world is. And like I said, I was telling my buddy about this last night. It's like, actually, it's not as fucked up. It's just that that's what people pay attention to. So.
Yeah, that's right. But well, a little bit of time left. I'm wondering. So obviously, you learned from you've got this other mentor and everything like that. So after separating yourself from that party lifestyle, you've been into what you're doing now for how long?
About 1.5 years now.
Year and a half, and like what's come from that, I guess.
So when I was going through that point or that phase with the neighbors, realizing that I wanted more for whatever reason, just kind of felt trapped, seeking their validation, and took me at a path of depression, man. Almost blew my brains out, like put a gun to my head. Fortunately, my son knocked on the door at the right time, and I need help. I knew that I needed help, so I seeked out for mentorship. I reached out to Wes, my mentor, and he gave me a program, which is what I follow right now, mainly of personal development. Fitness is just a byproduct of it, but I believe that fitness and mindset is all attached together. Again, it's all connected. When you are in the best shape possible, you feel good.
Yeah.
And when you feel good, you perform good in every aspect of your life. So it's all interconnected. But long story short, man, it was just a really dark time for me. September, August 2022, and this is when I actually launched my business after overcoming some of those flaws. Just straight quit everything. I even sold a house. Like, we loved that house. It was a massive house, but we like, you know what, let's dip. So we sold the house, we left the neighborhood, and actually kind of ended the friendship there, so to speak, because we were no longer aligned with them. And ever since, I've been on a path of just personal development, man, just constantly servitude. Now, most people wonder, what is my purpose? Your purpose will be revealed to you when you call for it and you are ready for it.
Yeah.
So it took us getting rid of something that we loved, which was the neighborhood and the house that we loved. Like, we put a lot of work and money towards it. Getting rid of it, sold everything, and just invested into ourselves. Like we spent a bunch of money, you know, on just our personal development. People having that's another one too. People have this attachment to money, and money is just energy, bro. Money can be made again, just become more valuable.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I created you know, what I have right now. And it's just more of a personal development journey. And my purpose is now to serve the masses, overcome what I overcome in a more holistic way, without medications, without therapy. Just get fucking jacked, bro. Get jacked, get in the greatest shape possible. Get your mind aligned and just live with purpose, with intention of mass servitude. When you serve others is when life reveals to like, this is what you're supposed to do. Most people only serve themselves. They only want themselves. Like, what's in it for me? What's in it for them? Yeah.
If you're focused on what's honorable and righteous and like serving others and things along those lines, everything else is going to play out, but focus on the correct action. And dude, that's perfect, man. And I think that goes in line with my question for you. And this can be both professionally, you can answer it both professionally and as an individual. What is your relentless pursuit?
Do not settle. To never settle, to always keep moving forward and becoming, again, the best version of ourselves. I know it sounds repetitive, but it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about our people. It's about who we represent, who we lead, our children, our spouses, and not just them, but just society. So ultimately, my goal, my purpose until the day that I die, man, is just create the best version of me and bring enough people with me, bring as many people with me as possible, one person at a time, man.
Oh, yeah, man. I think that's perfect, dude. Creating a legacy, essentially, right? Because at the end of the day, your time here is going to end at some point, and who's going to carry that on? You know, what you taught them. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And that's essentially what we're doing, man. So, hell yeah, Alex. Well, dude, I hate that it's already time, bro. But I had a killer time, man. I feel like there's so much more to say. But I guess, you know, that just means down here in the future, we're going to have to bring you back, dude. Because you're obviously going to go to new heights, and you may end up arriving here in your jet. You know, we'll be in a new building. I'll be sure to have a airstrip.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's gonna land on a helicopter out here.
Yeah, dude, come over here. So yeah, dude, we're gonna go far, man. It's gonna be beautiful, and you know, you got a very strong mindset. I love your story, man. I mean, you know, we relate in a lot of ways on our journeys, and so I think we're just barely starting, dude. We're just getting started.
Scratching the surface.
Yeah, dude, we're scratching the surface. That's what I say all the time. So. Let's keep rolling, baby.
Very good honored to have you, man. And also appreciate your service and appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
You're the man.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
See you guys next time.